Welcome to this training video on how to create a title page for a class paper using Turabian's 9th edition. In my Kindle edition here, you can see we are using the 9th edition, but I want to show you more particularly where to find these instructions in the manual so that you can follow along now and in the future. The appendix of Turabian includes information that is particular for formatting, margins, fonts, etc., but also for the actual formatting of the submitted paper. So if we go here to A.2, you'll see that there's front matter, which includes our title page, there's the text, and then there's the back matter. But we're just going to jump forward in here to A.2, and then just going to scroll down until we find the title page. So A.2.1.2, and here's the basics of it. The title of the paper should be a third of the way down the page, usually centered. And if it has both a title and a subtitle, some papers only have a title, but if it has a title and a subtitle, then the main title goes on one line, followed by a colon, and then the subtitle on a new line with a space in between. So we'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And then you're going to move down about 1/3 of the page and place your name along with the information requested by an instructor, which is usually your name followed by the course information, the prefix, the ID number, and the title, and then the date that it's due. And so here is an example of what we're going to create today. And I just want you to notice that about 1/3 of the way down, there's the title. It's in bold with a line between the title and subtitle. About 1/3 of the way down, there's the personal information. And again, there's space between all of those lines. So let's go into Microsoft Word and talk about how to create this today. So basically, the simplest way to do this perhaps is just to start with a double spacing in your page format, or you can do it single. Just the problem with doing it single is you got to remember to change it later. So I'm going to go here to line space options. This is my go-to spot, and just change it from single space to double space. And I'm also going to turn this on just so you can kind of see the spacing here. But I'm going to hit a couple of spaces down. Maybe you'll find a magic number, but about 4 or 5 spaces down. And then I'm going to enter a title. And for my paper, I'm going to call it Fruitful Living. And then I'm going to enter a colon. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to give it the subtitle. And mine is going to be an exegesis of Psalm 1, 1-6. And then I'm going to hit enter again. Now, the title, a couple of things to remember about the title. Number one, it should be bold. So I'm going to change it to bold, and then I'm going to move it all the way over here into the center. Now, a lot of students don't do that. They just kind of tab it over, and notice that it's in the middle, but it's not centered. The center line is over here. And then some students actually do it even worse than that. They just kind of space it over, and that takes forever. And again, it's not centered well. So just select that line, go up here and pick the alignment option for the center. That's the easiest and best way to do it. While we're at it, this should all be in Times New Roman. So let me just change the font since my word, there we go. Now we need to enter about 3 or 4 more spaces. So let's do that. And then I'm going to center it again. And this time we're going to enter the personal information. So we're going to call it John E. Student. It's our made up student. And then we're going to enter the course information. So in this case, it's going to be for BTI 510 colon and then hermeneutics. And then we're going to enter the date that it's due. So let's just make a due date of January 2023. Now, notice that the title section is in bold. The personal information is not in bold, and that's very important, okay? So if I zoom out a little bit, we can look at this as a page, and it looks a little off. So we need to change this. Let's move this down a little bit more. So it's about a third of the way down. We'll move this down a little bit more so that it's about 3 lines, up from the bottom, a third of the way up and a third of the way down. And that's essentially what you need to use. A couple of things I just want to point out before we finish the video is that your title should be in what we call headline caps. Notice that I use caps at all the major words here. If you'll notice here, I did not capitalize. This is what we call headline caps compared to all caps. A lot of students want to put it in all caps. That is no longer appropriate. It used to be, but now Turabian tells you to put it in what we call headline caps. Should be centered, double space everything. Again, when it comes to your title, ideally what you want is a title that is descriptive. If your teacher just calls your assignment exegetical paper, that's great for the assignment, but for your paper, you want to give it a descriptive title. In this case, I pulled the phrase fruitful living, and I've kind of done that kind of out of fun because in Psalm 1 verse 3 it says, "He will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither, and whatever he does, he prospers." And so in that idea is kind of a fruitful living. How we're going to do that? We'll look at that in this paper. And then the subtitle, in my case, is more of a descriptor. This is what I'm going to do in this paper. It's an exegetical paper. It's a reflection paper. It's a book review. So I think that's a good way of thinking about your title versus your subtitle. The last thing I'll say is don't forget that the page number does not go on your title page. That includes both a number 1 as well as a number 0. And so in other videos, you can see how to remove the page number from your title page, but that's all we need to cover in this one today. I hope this is helpful. The way I tell my students is your title page is the first impression that your instructor or your reader is going to have of your assignment. So make sure that it is picture perfect. That way they have a good ethos of you as the writer. Good luck.